instance, I went to a training session which was called How to Teach Black Boys.
And what was the out of interest? What did they teach you? How do you teach black boys rather than just boys in general?
It's essentially because these boys are black, you have to have lower expectations for them. That was the gist of it. You can't expect them to sit down. You can't expect them to, for a long period of time, you can't expect them to sit down and do what was called a long write. You can't expect them just to sit down and read. They're more active. This is a black woman who delivered the seminar. And I remember at one point, as I felt my urine gently bubbling with rage, I put my hand at the end and I went, she went, any questions? And I went, yeah, I've got a mate who teaches at Eton. There's black boys who go to Eton. Do you reckon they're getting taught this at Eton? She was like, no, but she came up with something. But it's just the point. It's what Anura Bevan said. It's the bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah, I mean, it's racism, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, it's absolutely racism.
And within that, there's the idea that all the stats show that black kids from the Caribbean, black boys from the Caribbean, don't do very well. Black African kids do pretty well, and yet call them all black and treat them all as dummies. That's racist.
Of course it is. One of the highest achieving subgroups in education is West African girls, for instance.
So imagine walking into a teacher training session called How to Teach Black Boys. At first, you might think it's a positive thing. You might assume the goal is to understand different cultural backgrounds, improve engagement, help children to succeed more, or how to succeed. But what if the message being taught wasn't about raising standard at all? What if the message was about lowering them? A clip circulating online, as just shown at the beginning, described exactly that. And make it worse, he said this message was coming from a black woman. So it points more and more how important it is for you to guide the children at home, because you cannot depend on the system to teach our black kids or to guide them, because you have one teacher can spoil a child ambition, can ruin a child future, shatter his confidence or her confidence. So according to this one teacher attending the seminar, they were told that because the students were black boys, teachers should not expect them to sit still for long periods, should not expect them to complete extended writing tasks, and should not expect them to engage with reading in the same way as other pupils. The teacher described becoming increasingly frustrated. His question was simple. If these were the same black boys who were attending Eton, would they be thought this way? The answer was no. And that's where the conversation get interesting, because that start to discuss about helping black boys quickly becomes a discussion about something much deeper, expectations, and whether society was quietly giving up on some children before they even had a chance. And let's be clear, every child is different. Some children are more energetic. Some learn visually. Some prefer practical activities. Some struggle with concentration. And when did those become racial characteristics? But when did we start saying that because a child is black, we should automatically expect less academic discipline from them? And think about that message that has been sent. And imagine being a young black boy sitting in a classroom. You don't know it, but the adults around you have already decided that you probably won't enjoy reading. Imagine that. They already decided you won't sit still. They already decided long form writing is probably too difficult for you or unsuitable for you. How is that helping you? Yeah? That's not empowerment. That's limitation. that's putting a ceiling over someone's head before they even begun climbing. And there is a phrase often used in education, the soft bigotry of low expectation. And the idea is simple. Sometimes discrimination doesn't look like hatred. Sometimes it looks like sympathy. Sometimes people believe they are helping you by expecting less from you. But the result is often the same. You end up receiving less challenge, less opportunity, and less belief. And ultimately, less achievement. Many teachers would never openly say black children are less capable, yet some educational approaches seems to operate as if that assumption is true. And the language changes, the packaging changes, but the outcome remain the same. Different standards for different groups. And that's a dangerous road to travel. And it's not new, because I remember this is about 10 years ago. I was listening to a radio station in Nottingham. It's a black radio station, and it's like a calling program in the evening. And I remember there was this Jamaican man that calling. He came to the UK when he was very young, preteen. He was probably like 9 or 10 when he came to the UK. And I remember he was talking to the radio presenter. And the radio station is called Kemet FM. And he was talking to the radio presenter. And he said that, and they're discussing the same issue. And I remember he stick with me up to today's date. And this just remind me so much of that interview that I heard. And the guy said that when he came, he faced so much discrimination, and he described one teacher look at him and say, he basically said to the teacher that he wanted to become a scientist. And the teacher look at him and say, why not become a footballer or some athletics program? And luckily enough, he had strong parents at home, and that statement didn't damage him to an extent. And you know what the situation, why he was calling it, because he ended up become some form of scientist as well. So he stick to his dream, and he become what he was dreamt about at that age. So that teacher didn't damage his ambition. But I know for a fact how teachers can either help or damage a child. So if a teacher believes in a child, he will believe in himself. If a teacher doubt a child, he can take that doubt and say that he cannot do what he wants to do. And this is so true. And you should imagine, and this just remind me of what my little daughter said to me a few weeks ago, where this is happening now at 8 years old. She overheard a white teacher talking about another black boy, that he behaved the way he behaves because he was black. Not because he's just an active boy, it's just because he was black. But as I said, it have to start from home though. Have to. Because it cannot depend on this system to raise our black kids. Another point that was raised in the discussion, which is half truth to it to an extent, where it says that black boys are not a monolith. So you have the Africans family, which have a different view on education compared to some of the Caribbean families. That's true to a certain extent, which is also not true to an extent. Yes, the Caribbean boys maybe have different family structure compared to the African family, but you cannot put expectation, lower the expectation of a Caribbean boy because of what the statistics says. So you will have the kid trying to make want to do other stuff, have dreams, have goals, and because the statistics or what the view of it. So both of these person in this interview have it wrong. I think you cannot use the statistics to broad brush everybody. Not because a boy is from the Caribbean, from a Caribbean background, you're gonna say he doesn't have high expectation regarding his education. You cannot say that. You get what I mean? Yes, I do understand the point, and I do see that the African family do put more focus on education. As I said, that's why I said earlier, it have to start from home. You cannot use it. You have the system to depend on guiding our children, whether it's African, whether it's Caribbean. You cannot have the system, because for one part of the system will group all black boys together and class them as one, and then you have a next side as it will say that, oh, he's African, so he is more academically inclined, or he's Caribbean, so he doesn't have much interest in academic. And you cannot do that. So you guide that child accordingly. But it have to start from home when it comes to that point. I have to. The statistic is there for a reason, and there is some truth to the statistics, but you cannot use the statistic as a broad brush on everybody, especially for the Caribbean. Because what will happen is a black Caribbean boy that want to do something extraordinary, or just want to aspire to some academical background, he will basically see that statistics or hear that statistics and say, oh, I can't do it. But again, it all have to come from the family, from the home. Remember that story I said to you about the Jamaican kid on the radio station when he said when he was younger, he said to the teacher that he wanted to become a scientist, and the teacher was saying, why not become a sport person? And he ended up becoming a scientist. He didn't listen to that student. They didn't listen to that teacher. That support came from home. You get what I mean? So the E10 question is another important part of this discussion, because it exposes a contradiction. So if these teaching methods are not genuinely better for black boys, then surely they should be used for black boys everywhere, right? Including the elite schools. But if they are only being recommended for black boys in certain communities, then we have to ask why. And are we helping students, or are we making assumption about what they can achieve? Would a future doctor benefit from lower expectations? Would a future engineer? Would a future entrepreneur? Would a future prime minister? Of course not. But you see, success requires challenge, and challenge requires belief. And perhaps the biggest issue isn't the racism from people who openly dislike black children. Perhaps it's something more subtle. The belief that black children need protecting from standards rather than helping them meet them standards. The belief that expectation should be adjusted downwards instead of opportunities being expanded upwards. You get what I mean? So you're using it as sympathy and a kid, rather than you encourage a kid to meet his full potential. Every child deserves support. Every child deserves understanding. And every child also deserve belief more than anything else. Because when a teacher look at a child and say, I know you can do this, they are giving that child a gift. And when society starts saying, we don't expect much from you anyway, that gift disappears. And the question isn't whether black boys can achieve. History already answered that. The real question is, why are some people still surprised when they do? Oh, bless up. CBC. It starts from the home, I said. God bless. And one love.